Aloha, beautiful souls. Welcome to A Better World with Adrienne and another episode of Friday Fire. This is the short format to blast you off into your weekend with tools, inspiration, a quick win energy. And this week, I want to talk about how to make aligned decisions. And this idea was really born out of me being so far up my own asshole, so far in just a deep, like inner turmoil state of like making a decision. And this happened in the past 2 weeks. It's like, okay, I was so deeply torn about this decision, and I was brought to corners of my soul and depths of my being that I haven't been in a long time. And I was like starting to question myself and starting to not trust myself. And I've thought, I moved through it. I have clarity. I have peace. I know exactly what to do. I know it's correct. And I thought, I am going to do a podcast on this because one of the most important skills of self-leadership and leading and making your vision that's part of a better world is trusting yourself and your ability to make decisions. Like your ability to make not just any decision, but an aligned decision. Because here's the thing about new earth leaders and people who live a life that most will not. You will make choices that most will not. You will make different choices that are more uncomfortable, that have more risk, that are less logical, that most people won't understand. I noticed myself last night. Someone was asking me about this specific thing, which I'm going to share the example. But I noticed myself starting to explain, and they were like, they totally did not understand. And I was like, you know what? If everyone understood, that would mean that I'm not living my truth, and that would mean that I'm not innovating, I'm not blazing a new path. So let's just go into this example because, teaching through story is something that I really love to do. And so if you're out there, you're like, oh yeah, like I've been in that situation where I'm literally like, I'm at the point where I'm like so annoyed with myself that I haven't made the decision yet. Um, it's I'm just sharing this because I've been there, I know what it's like, and I have tools to move through it. That's how I moved through it, and you can move through it too. So basically, this is me being just like, all of you here on the podcast get the real unfiltered me. Like, do I show up fully on, social media? Yes, I do. Do I show up fully in my email list? Yes, I do. But I love audio. I love audio. I love video for those of you on YouTube, but I love just channeling with my voice. It's so me. So yeah, and by the way, like you guys are the most ride or die community. Like I would say that literally most of my amazing clients come through my network or my podcast, which is like the best. It's the best. So all of that to say is I love you. Let's dive into this story about what's been going on. So I part of like what I'm meant to do here on Maui is really immerse myself in the culture and learn about Hawaiian culture. And I kept getting this invitation to do paddle, which paddle is the Hawaiian canoe racing here. And I was like, oh yeah, that sounds so fun. I grew up sailing with my grandpa, which some of you might know this, but my grandpa, his first name is Bruce, his middle name is Lee. He's literally one of my best friends. He's literally one of my best friends. He just turned 90 in February, and he's the best. And I grew up sailing with him on the Great Lakes and on our lake in northern Michigan by our cottage. And so you all know me, I love the water, but I love boats, and I love, like, it comes very naturally to me, like noticing the waves, noticing the wind, like how to guide a ship, like all of that stuff. And so I went and I tried paddle, and I loved it. Oh my God, I loved it. I had the best time. And I was just like so excited. My inner child was so happy. It's like all these people doing like rowing workouts before, and they made me a steersman or steerswoman, which is the person that's in the back of these are 6-man canoes. And so I would be in the sixth seat, like steering, and it was so fun. Oh my gosh, I literally had the best time. And so the first day I went to just try it, and I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. And then I was looking at the schedule, and it's like a very intense schedule. It's practice Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the races on Saturdays, um, all summer. So it's like 3 months of very, very, very intense. To me, that's very intense. Like, especially if it's not like my business, like I'm not like with clients, I'm not like receiving money for that time or that, energetic output or something like that. And at first I was like, oh, that's a lot, but like I'm excited, I am having so much fun, I want to do it, blah blah blah, all of this. And then I realized the next day, I was like, oh, like I'm freaking exhausted. Like I am exhausted. And so it really was, I was just noticing in my body, and I even feel it in my body when I'm talking about it. I was just noticing the exhaustion. And the one thing that when I was at this practice and everything, it was a lot of people. It was a lot of people, like, I don't know, between 50 and 100 people were there, for the various like teams and divisions and everything. And it was a lot for my energy. It was a lot for my energy as a projector. Something that I'm learning a lot about my human design and my body is that I absorb and amplify all of the energy around me at 200%. And I only have two defined centers in my body. So I'm basically wide open to be conditioned by all the energy around me, which means like other people's energy infiltrates my body. And then it gets amplified at 200%. So I was just noticing I was feeling drained, and I'm like, okay, like maybe I just will adjust my nutrition, my sleep schedule. Like maybe I'll do that because like I really, really wanted to do it. And so I went to another practice. And I took some space. I was like, okay, I'm just want to be in my own energy. I'll rest. And then I'm going to go to another practice and see how I feel. And I went to the other practice again, super fun. And like, I was so exhausted. I was so exhausted. Literally the next day was a total wash. Not a total wash. It's not like I didn't do anything, but like I felt so tired. My sleep was all messed up. And I could feel in my body, I could just feel something was off. And I didn't know why. I could not understand it with my logical mind. And so I'm like leaning into my process, and I'm, feeling into my body, and I'm just feeling so torn. And I ended up going to one more practice, and I experimented with some other stuff where I was like, okay, maybe I'll ride alone this time, because maybe that's what was draining my energy, was being in the car with someone else and then doing a workout right before it. Maybe I'll just go and just do the practice, and we're going to see how that goes. Okay, and then I came home and I could not sleep. There was like a fire in my chest, which my chest is where my body speaks to me and my intuition. And I barely slept. I barely slept that night. I was like, something is wrong. I don't know why. I was like so annoyed because I don't know why. So if anybody that's listening out there, thank you for listening. I do have a point to this, but it's like, I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where you're like, okay, literally, what the fuck? Like, this, like, there's a huge part of me that this is like a yes, like a hell yes, like, let's do it, amazing. And that was like my inner child, like so excited to be out on the water, feeling really connected to the ocean, feeling really connected to myself, feeling really connected to my grandpa, like all of that. And then at the very same time, it was like this grandmother wisdom inside my body that was like, no, no. And I was so, I was like in inner turmoil about it. I was like in inner discord. I was like, something is not right. Like I was like, I don't know what this is, and I haven't felt this way in honestly a really, really, really long time. But what is this? Like something's off. So then I went into just my process for making decisions and allowing myself. So this is where I'm going to share like the steps, because I moved through all of this and then I reached clarity, and my clarity is no, I'm not going to do the canoe racing this summer. And there's a big part of me that's very sad about that, because I was very excited about that. I was excited about the races. I was excited about getting really good at steering. And at the very same time, with the time commitment and the way that the club works, it was really fucking with my energy. And my energy is my greatest currency. I have limited energy as a projector, and like anything that is going to take away from my ability to serve my mission is a no, and it's not like there's anything wrong with canoeing. It's just that specific way and this specific time and all of that. So I came to this conclusion, but I really want to share how I came to this conclusion, because it's like making decisions are very, very, very important. And it's a really important part of self-leadership. And, I was leaning into my own coaches. I was leaning into my healers, and I was like, okay, I need support. Like, I don't know why this is such an activation for me, but I need support. And so this is what I want to share with you. Just 5 very specific things that I believe will really help you in this process for yourself. Whether it's a decision like this, which doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but to me, it was like, oh my God, I have to choose between my inner child and my destiny path. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. But at the end of the day, it was okay. I'm choosing my destiny path because my destiny path will not allow me to sacrifice my health, will not allow me to sacrifice my energy, will not, my destiny will never require you to self-abandon your health, your body, your energy, your intuition, and all of those things. We're saying no for this in this specific way. Now, what am I going to do to fuel my inner child? Oh, I'm going to take her canoeing on the weekend. Oh, I'm going to do stand-up paddleboard. Maybe I'll do this next summer, and I'll be in more of a state in my life and business where it makes sense for me to do that. I have no idea, but this is how I got to the aligned decision. Okay. The aligned decision for me. And I want you to use all of this on a current example. I know you're out there in some kind of decision, and it doesn't matter whether it's like a small decision or a big decision, but a decision is a decision. And literally the word decision means to cut. You literally cut away certain options when you decide. You decide and you say, I'm going on this certain path. Because even I noticed myself, I was like, how can I do both? How can I do both? And I even asked the coach, I was like, is it going to be a problem if I only come to half of the practices? Like, and it's just like, it's kind of an all in or all out thing. So here's what I want to share with you. First thing, allow your process and know your process. Allow your process and know your process. So know what you need in order to come to clarity for yourself and allow it to unfold. So for me, I've been really, obviously, you guys know I've been so deep in my human design experiment. I've been really leaning into my strategy and authority. And so, I did get invited to join this canoe club. So that was my strategy. And then my authority was like, okay, do I accept the invitation? And so I let myself be there experientially. And then soundboarding is talk it out, talk about it to myself, talk about it to people that aren't trying to influence me, that can just mirror back what I'm saying. And so it's like allowing my process and knowing my process. And once I came to the inner knowing, then I was like, oh, this is very, very clear, very, very, very obvious. Okay. So the other thing I did was I did so much breath work. I did so much breath work because I was so activated. And honestly, I still don't fully understand why it was so activating for me. I think part of it might be that I was exposed to so much energy that I'm usually not around. Like they even had a wine Wednesday thing for this canoe club, and which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not my scene, I've been through addiction with alcohol. Like I don't really want to be around that. Like it was just it just wasn't the correct energy for me. And I think maybe that was rattling my nervous system as well, because, when I absorb other people's energy at such a high frequency, it really affects me. And I was like feeling like all kinds of activations. I was like, dude, you're safe. Like, what's going on? So I did a lot of breath work and I just love myself through it. And I moved through like grief with my inner child and breath work of like yes, we are going to go canoeing, like that's not dying, like it's okay. And so I really just tended to myself through my nervous system. So if you're going through a big decision and you don't regulate your nervous system, you're never going to reach full clarity, because you're going to be in fight or flight. You're just going to be looking to protect yourself. You're going to be looking to protect yourself, rather than find your truth, which are very different things. Protecting yourself and finding your truth and living your truth are very, very, very different things. They actually can't coexist, because protection mode is closed off mode. It's armor mode. You can't open and receive the truth of your soul from that place. Okay, the third thing is just this knowing that it's not going to be logical. It's not always going to be logical. People make decisions all the time that are totally logical and mind-based, and there's a place for that. And but one of the things that people low-key sabotage themselves with is being realistic and being logical. Because when you think about the magic of the universe, it's not logical. It is not logical that there's literally like a web of divine support around all of us that's speaking to us at all times, through the stars, through our astrology chart, through literally feelings and intuitions and pings and our spiritual gifts. Like that is not logical. So when you're making aligned decisions, you get to leave room for the magical, not always logical. Okay? Because in my mind, when I was making this decision, I was like, but this doesn't make sense. I love canoeing. I have fun when I'm there. I want to have this as part of my lifestyle here. What's the problem? Well, it wasn't a logical decision. You know what it was? It was my inner voice and my inner knowing, which leads to the fourth idea. It's the inner knowing and the inner voice. And what I realized in this process, it was like a 10-day process. It doesn't always need to be that long. That was my journey this time. And I really think too, because, I'm a very social person. I'm out in the world. I know people, I know my neighbors, but like big groups are not my thing. Big groups are not my thing. I'm more of like an intimate, one-on-one person. I love my one-on-one clients. I love leading my small groups of clients, but it's like, big groups are not for me. And I'm just never around them really on by design. And what I realized with this inner voice and in my process is that I did not like the answer that I was getting from my inner voice. I did not like that answer. So I tried to change it. I did not like the answer that I was getting from my inner voice, so I tried to change it. I tried to manipulate it. I tried to coerce it. I'm like, oh, let's just go to one more practice. Oh, let's see if we can go to half the practices. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see if we can do that. And my inner voice is like, yo, this is a no. And that's okay. You don't need to know why. Like, there's so many parts of my life when I look back and I made decisions just based on that inner voice that weren't logical, and they were like proven months later of why it wasn't correct. And so that inner voice, I was trying to change the answer. I was like, oh, if we get more data, nope, nope. And also this just shows me too that like this specific situation wasn't correct for me because I was so rickety in I don't know if it was rickety, but like I usually don't experience this. Like I haven't experienced this in a really, really, really long time. It's it's bizarre actually. But there was something here for me. Definitely something here. And then the last thing I want to share with you is that the body is the final say. The body is the final say. So one of my mentors, Victoria Washington, in the House of Wealth Embodiment, she says, body leads, mind follows. Body leads, mind follows. And literally the last night I went to practice, I came home, I could barely sleep because my chest was on fire. And that literally means something is wrong. Like that's my intuition. That's the wisdom of my body being like, yo, something is wrong. Something is wrong. Like this is a no, like turn around, do not pass go, do not do the thing. And I'm laying there in bed trying to sleep and I have this fire in my chest and I just keep hearing in my mind, body leads, mind follows, body leads, mind follows. And I'm like, you know what I am so grateful for? I'm so grateful for the amount of work I've done that even when I try to override my body, I can't anymore. I physically cannot anymore. It's bizarro. It's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, my loves. I never, like, I realized how much I used to override my body daily, but like, when these things come up and there's any kind of like edginess that I'm describing for you, I'm like, oh, like I physically can't go back. I physically cannot. Like I literally couldn't sleep. And then the moment I woke up the next day getting like 3 hours of sleep and I was like, yeah, um, this isn't right. I'm not supposed to do this and I don't fully get it, but here we go. And so it's really, really trusting that and your body being the final say and trusting your answer, even if you don't like it. And another thing about leadership, and I don't know how long this episode is going to be. It's a Friday Fire. It might be a little bit longer. You will make decisions that most people won't get. You will make decisions that most people won't understand. Like when I was describing to one of my newer friends here, they were like, oh, why do you only want to go to part of the practices? And I was like, oh, it just really drains me. It's a lot on my energy. And they were like, it's literally only 2 hours. And I was in my mind, I'm like, yeah, first of all, you're probably a sacral being with an energy motor. And second of all, I don't need to explain to anyone and most people won't get it because this is a totally different way of decision making and making aligned decisions for you as a spiritual leader. Like most people won't do this. So team logic will be like, it won't make sense to them, and it doesn't need to make sense to them. It just needs to be true for you in your body, in your body. And so sometimes logical and the body do line up, and it's, it's amazing. But I will say, a lot of times it doesn't. And it's like letting the body lead, letting the body lead. So this is just a little download on how to make aligned decisions. A decision is to literally choose something and cut off other options. And so you must decide. And this is something that I say again and again and again to my clients is, it's a one-time decision. It's a one-time decision that you relentlessly follow through on. What a lot of people do is they make fake decisions. They pretend that they made a decision, but they haven't actually made it because they're not following through on it. They fake decided to make themselves feel better when they didn't decide at all. And then you're in that like I was so deeply uncomfortable the past week because I was like, I'm literally so uncomfortable in this choice point right now. I was like starting to get deeply annoyed with myself. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? What is going on? And so it's like having that, and then also dropping into deep self-love of like, hey, what is going on with you? Like, why are you in this place? And also holding myself to that standard of like, okay, we can't just stay in this limbo mode. This is literally like, there's a quote, money loves speed, wealth loves time, poverty loves indecision. And so this idea of being indecisive is killing people's dreams day in and day out, day in and day out. Okay, you will gain more from making decisions and then acting on those decisions and then course correcting if needed. But truly just making the decision and then going. Just decide and go, decide and go. So allow your process, know your process. Tend to your nervous system so you can actually access the truth. It's not always going to be logical, okay? Trust the inner voice, and your body is the final say. Your body is the authority. So I hope this served you. This is just a little Friday Fire for how to make aligned decisions, the new earth way, the spiritual way, the you way. And go out there, have an amazing weekend, make great decisions, make aligned decisions that support you and your destiny path and your truth. You are never obligated to be or do or decide what you did even 5 minutes ago. Okay, every moment is a chance to begin again. And if you want to work with me, I have a couple special ways you can do so right now. First of all, one-on-one sessions are available. You can book a new client foundation session. That is a 30-minute session with me, astrology and coaching, or you can do the full 90-minute deep dive, cosmic cellular breath work, my signature session. I also am enrolling one-on-one clients into long-term one-on-one mentorship. Right now, at the time of this recording, I have a very special option. It's a 3-month star speed mentorship called Changemaker. It's 3 months of Voxer coaching. It's a live one-on-one deep dive. It is my signature program, 3D moves, and all these other bonuses available. And I also have longer term mentorship available. If you're like, hey, 3 months isn't enough. I want the full luxury. I want the full experience. I want the full highest touch. I want weekly calls. I want all the bells and whistles. Like, that is available for you too. So these are the kinds of things that I hold my clients through in Voxer in one-on-one mentorship. Like if they're moving through decisions, they're moving through emotions, regulating and healing their nervous system through custom breath work designed for you and your astrology. Like, this is all what I do with my clients. Like, everything I share on the podcast, it's like really, really powerful. And it's when you get in these rooms of transformation when they actually create the change. So if you're interested in working with me, book a one-on-one session. go to the link in the show notes. You can book a one-on-one session or sign up for the one-on-one mentorship there. There's also the application for the longer term one-on-one mentorship as well. So I hope this episode served you. Go out there, be the change, be the light, and I will see you next time on A Better World with Adrienne.